I'm going to try to make this one as succinct as possible. I keep recording it, and it's just this is a very brief point I want to make. The Chinese Communist Party calls themselves the people, and they do that in order to condition people to think that if you say something against the Chinese Communist Party, you're saying something against the people. You are an enemy of the people. It's a trick. It's a way to stigmatize dissent. In my town, any church you look for that has the word grace in the name is a covenant Calvinist, backload works, no gospel present church. They use grace, the word grace, to associate themselves with a message that you believe is your security. So you go listen to them, and you go, well, it's the Grace Church, And there are no Grace churches in my town, but they call themselves, Grace is all over the place, the word. And there's a problem with the Grace community, because the Grace community on YouTube, what we're calling the Grace community, is a select group of channels. And not all of them have a grasp of grace. And the ones that are getting offended are using this umbrella term, grace community, to say that if you've taught something that contradicts with what they teach, you've now attacked the grace community. And by inference, everybody believes that means you came out swinging against the body of Christ. And you caused division in the body of Christ. You caused division in the grace community. When really, what they're talking about is a network of channels that are basically talking to each other and seem to have forgotten who they're feeding, which is the subs. My audience is my subs. I started this channel not with the intention to join a community, but to preach the gospel to myself and help people out of the pits that I have been helped out of. And as people came along, there was much contention because many of the things I say are contrary to what the traditional Christian teaching is. And so there were debates that went back and forth. Every time I brought out a teaching, it was with much contention. And meanwhile, my channel was growing, and I was getting subs of people that were actually channel owners. So before you know it, I eventually found myself in a group of channels that called themselves the Grace Community, and most of them have the gospel. However, the problem is that when you associate yourself with a group of channels, now you're part of a network of affiliations and loyalties that are assumed. And if you cross a boundary with one of these, channels, the whole network reacts. It's very interesting. And, that's one thing I do not believe in. I do not believe we should have hidden affiliations or relationships and loyalties. I liken the idea to being in the institutional church. If you're listening to a pastor and he says, we've made peace with all the churches around us and we're all one big community and we're all keeping the oneness. If you're a starving sheep looking for food, all that tells you is that there's nowhere to go. It's a lockdown. We've got you. Where are you going to go? We're all in agreement, even though we all teach different things and have different views. And if any of us steps out of line as far as the gospel is concerned, we're not going to dare bring it up, And my intention here is not to attack channels. My intention is to feed the ones that come and subscribe to me and have fellowship with me. That's my community. And I think it was a mistake, in a way, to think that I was part of something broader. Not that I'm not friends and brothers and sisters with other people who have the gospel and we run side by side, but we have to be autonomous. And there's a huge pressure right now because people are sick of the so-called debates and stuff, to back off, to back down. Because certain people are teaching differently, and if you say something about it, they're saying you are causing division in the grace community, which really is just a cover, It's like the Communist Party saying, you've attacked the people. Now, I'm not saying anything evil about the people themselves. I'm talking about a network. And anytime I've done teachings on spiritual warfare, I've talked about how some of these things arrayed against us work through a network of relationships. And I'm seeing it so clearly. And I can't be a part of that because even by association, because I'm friends with this person, then that means that I have to embrace what this other person that they're friends with teaches, and I don't. And yet, the temptation is to say, not teach on that thing for fear of offending this person. I didn't come here for those people. I'm not here for the channels. I'm here for my subs. And if there was a way I could make my messages private at this point and still have my subs notified, I would. But I think that my messages are important and I want people to stumble on them. And I expect people to get offended. But I'm not going to have my conscience hijacked by affiliations and loyalties, And then as far as my tone goes, I do speak really precisely because I'm very careful with words. But that doesn't mean I'm angry or haughty. And nobody used to get offended at Pastor so-and-so. They all loved it. But this last one I did, I took dreams from somebody's mouth and put them in Pastor so-and-so's mouth and launched them at myself, which is just a caricature of what actually happened. And it's so that I could illustrate in 2 minutes what would take me hours to explain. And I've found that to be an effective tool, even though it is somewhat offensive. It's not offensive. It wasn't hurtful to anybody but me. But people get offended because they want to be offended. And in a network of affiliations, the enemy can turn a whole community real fast on a dime and get them running in the same direction. We've seen this. He's mastered the art through social media. How fast do memes scream through your Facebook feed where all of a sudden everybody's speaking about this thing and that thing and it's no longer safe to be there? It's the same thing. And a lot of people are well-intentioned, but they're putting in their 2 cents so that they can say, yeah, I'm part of this affiliation and we're part of the grace community. And it's really more of a virtue signaling kind of thing where they're identifying themselves as part of this network, not where they're actually reaching out and trying to reconcile anything. No matter how much they call for reconciliation, they're not actually, coming and making peace. They're just making a statement as their channel. And that's fine. We tend to do stuff like that. But that's what I want to stop doing myself. I can't judge everybody else for doing it, but I'm done. My messages are for my subs. And they may run contrary to what others teach, but I'm not in a network. I'm not in a part of an institution. I ran away from institutional Christianity and I'm not going back to it. I don't ever want to be a part of that again. So I just wanted to put that out, and we'll watch how many thumbs down this one gets. But believe it or not, I actually love everybody and wish them the best. All right, take care.